Okay, I've heard you guys. You want a 2.01 drafting guide, and I'm here to deliver. However, the old drafting guides of the past are now no more. It's gonna be different going forward. Right now, you see a graphic on screen with every character divided into 4 different categories. I'm only gonna go into detail about some of them. This graphic is just to give you an idea about where all of them are at. I'm only going into detail about characters who got messed with quite a bit or moved in viability quite a bit. There also may be a few exceptions that I want to touch on. Anyway, like always, this is based on PC, so if you play on console, no promises that this lines up with your system. The two metas are normally reasonably different, so there's your warning. I know a lot of you console players really want me to do a console one, but I don't play console, so I don't know console, so I wouldn't feel right making one about something I don't personally know well. I'm really sorry. Now let's go ahead and get started. Tanks. Makua is basically in the same spot as before. He's right at the top, except now he has no company up there since Conn has gone down a bit. He's even gotten a little better thanks to his new Rejuve card when under 50% health, offering him more sustain from his healer to pair with his massive health pool from Leviathan. You're still first picking or banning Makua, but keep in mind he is an easy target for Debilitate Skye and Big Game Cassie due to his round shape and big health pool. Conn took several hits and has fallen from the top, but still hangs on strong alongside some of the other powerhouse tank picks. No longer a must pick or must ban, you'll be seeing Conn in more of your games, but in a much less overwhelming way. With firing line gone, his talent options are Storm of Bullets and Vortex Grip. Storm of Bullets is the better all-around talent pick. It allows you to get out good damage and it nets you a lot of ultimate charge. While your ult is more skill reliant than before, it is still a very powerful ultimate. Its only real downside is its bugs, but the bugs alone don't justify not picking Conn. As for Vortex Grip, the stun is very powerful and can net your team some easy picks. You have to be careful about when you use it though. You don't want to be out in the open so you get melted during it. For a while, Ashe has been a sleeper pick. Most of the community hasn't really realized how good Ashe has been for a while now. For the most part, only the higher tiers of the community have really understood this, so her getting buffed was pretty baffling and surprising to the higher tiers of the community. There is currently no tank that is as good at being an aggressive bully as Ashe. Ashe isn't a tank that sits on point or pushes the payload. Ashe goes off away from the point, tries to ignore the enemy tanks, and focuses on pressuring the enemy DPS as much as possible. She applies pressure and makes space for her team to do things more freely. Her ult was always a really good space maker. You ult into the enemy and spread them out or force them back. With this new buff, you stun enemies and it basically guarantees you a kill on a squishy, or multiple kills if your team follows up. Don't let Ashe's low DPS fool you. When played this way, the character can be a monster. However, Ashe is not a must pick or ban. Terminus is another sleeper character. Very strong, but not commonly recognized as such due to his bugs. His power siphon ability is right up there with Makua's hook as one of the most powerful abilities in the game. And thanks to some of his new cards, he can have it up way more often, making him even more of a nightmare to enemy DPS characters. If Terminus was bug-free, he would be at the same level as Makua. Right now his bugs make him a bit of a gamble, but a gamble that can pay off very well. Even with his bugs though, he is still a very solid ban, since he can greatly limit your DPS's value. Torvald, while not really receiving many impactful direct changes, the removal of early game Wrecker and Cot makes him much more powerful. It's harder to counter him early game without sapper rounds, and now that enemies can't stack Wrecker with early game Cauterize. Pocketing a powerful DPS carry can prove very overwhelming to the enemy team, and they won't be able to effectively counter it until mid to late game when they can get enough of both Cot and Wrecker online. Torvald is a very good ban. He can pocket many things, so it's best to ban him and cut the strat at its roots. Fernando has fallen quite considerably. The tools that powered his aggressive playstyle are gone, and right now he's outdone as both an aggressive tank and a point tank by basically every other character in his class. There's no longer any practical reason to pick him unless there's a lot of tank bans in your game and you don't have many other options. Basically, when it comes to tanks, he's not your first choice, he's a fallback. Damage. Dreg received a few buffs, granting him mobility and team-wide teleports. However, he hasn't really moved up very much. He's only a little better. He isn't a must ban most of the time, but I feel that at any elo, banning him on his best maps, Ice Mines, Jaguar Falls, Bright Marsh, and Stone Keep, due to how easily he wins the upper keep fight, is in your best interest. If you plan to get Term, you can let them have Dreg because Terminus greatly limits what he can do. If you plan to get Dreg on any of those maps, you want Term banned, unless your team is second pick. Because then if you draft right, you can get both of them, and that's a huge pain for the enemy team. Leon is still pretty top tier, however with Def and Taxes gone, it's for a new reason, and that reason is Eminence. Now that Presence's no reg bug is fixed, Eminence is a force of nature. It allows you to get off a ton of long distance damage due to the reset build with Heraldry and Inheritance. Leon is definitely a character you're going to want to pick up often, and outside of the smaller, most close quarters maps, you may even want to ban her. Flank. Koga has proven to be very strong right now thanks to the buffs to his claws and Dragon Fang's talent. Koga is a very powerful glass cannon. He's easy to punish and kill while in Dragon Fangs, but if you don't do that before he starts attacking you, he will easily and quickly kill you. Most of the community hasn't adjusted to watching out and burning Koga, especially since there's no real margin for error when it comes to doing that. So for right now, I would say that Koga is a very good early pick and ban because of that. You don't want him running through your team because people haven't adjusted yet. I am pretty positive that this will change after some time. Also, make sure the enemy team never gets Koga and Torv together. That is a very powerful and broken combo that can easily sway any game. Xin is back thanks to his clipping bug getting fixed. He's even a bit better than he was before he got bugged since his counter fires a projectile now. So you can do damage with it at a distance and enemies can't attack it while they're away from it since it'll still hit them. Xin's solid lethality and high survivability make him a very good flank. Not really a must pick or ban though. Skye has been a sleeper pick for a while, at least in NA. I've noticed EU has realized her potential, and that's where I figured out how good Skye really is. Skye doesn't really flank. Skye picks Debilitate and melts tanks, especially tanks like Makua, Inara, Torvald, Ruckus, and Fernando. Once you get their defensive abilities on cooldown, they are sitting ducks. I've even found great value in giving the enemy Makua and picking Skye since he struggles greatly against her. He's basically a big circle and has a lot of health with Leviathan, so if he picks Leviathan against Skye, he is turtle soup. If he's smart and picks Half Shell, he can survive a bit easier, but he still struggles. There are also less reveals in the game to counter Skye with, and even with the current reveals, Skye doesn't have to worry too much since Debilitate has good range and she can stay close to her team and melt tanks from a good distance away so the reveals don't get her singled out. Skye isn't a must pick or ban. Skye is a good counter pick to the tanks I mentioned and a good ban if you're planning on getting Makua. And Roxas got nerfed pretty hard. He's nowhere near as strong as he used to be. He went from being a must pick must ban to a very niche pick. You're only really gonna want him when he directly counters the enemy team. Tallis of course lost his anti-heal and his DR on inner strength. It's still his best talent, but he is more limited than before. I think he's still solid, but you have to be more careful and pick your fights a bit smarter. Supports. So I consider Grover to be up there with Maldamba. The only thing that was holding Grover back before was early game anti-heals. They affected him more than the other main supports, but now that they're gone, he's in a really good spot. He did lose Efflorescence, but the base heal range from it was put into the base kit and you can run Rampant Blooming to get that massive healing output again. When built right, Grover can heal a large portion of the map while also constantly putting out good damage and crippling enemies to offer his team great utility. Furia isn't somebody who's a whole lot different. Some of her cards were buffed like Stoke the Fire, so Furia can get more CD reduction for her beam and that's really good. I don't think Furia is as good as Grover or Damba, but she is pretty up there. Depending on how your team is playing, your heal beams can be pretty hard to land. But if they're willing to work with you on that, then Furia brings a lot of value to the team with massive heals, good damage, occasional CC, and a fantastic gas pedal ultimate. Ying received a nerf to her brittle card, so now Ying is putting out less right-click heals. so her healing is more on par with the other healers. Ying does still heal a lot, but she lacks damage and utility. Ying only has healing. However, if you pick her and you're a good Ying, you're not gonna lose over it or anything. Ying is still a very solid healer, and sometimes the enemy may take Grover and then no one on your team can play Damba, and at that point Ying is a good go-to. Saris is in a similar boat to Ying. If Void Abides wasn't nerfed when put into the base kit, I think Saris would have been up there with Damba and Grover possibly. However, it was nerfed and Saris is more on par with Ying now. Saris can put out a lot of healing and offer utility with Agony, or good survivability and damage with Soul Collector, as well as good long distance healing with Mortal Reach on the really long sightline maps. But it all doesn't really stand up to Grover or Damba, especially since her ultimate is one of the easiest support ults to counter at any time. Like I said, if Grover is taken and no one on your team can play Damba, you could go with Ying or Saris and be fine as long as they're good at it. So, Pepper. Oh, okay, fine, I'll call the character Pip. Pepper's still a better character though. Pip got better with the removal of inbuilt CC reduction. You're still not playing him as a healer, you're playing him as a damage of course, but now that your ult gets full duration on tanks, it's back to being one of the best ultimates in the game. Pip can get it up pretty often too thanks to how much damage he puts out as a pseudo blaster. Pip's head hitbox is still a big weakness though, so don't pick him late and don't pick him against anything that abuses his big head hitbox. Okay, so Grok didn't really have anything done to him besides Totemic Ward getting weaker healing, but Grok is very sleeper. Very sleeper. Maelstrom Grok is a damage monster and he can get his ultimate very often. If you have a DPS slot open and they have Ying or Barrack or even a Nara, you should pick up Grok because you can get very easy Maelstrom damage off of hitting their deployables. So that's it. That's everybody I wanted to touch on and all of the new information you need. If you have questions, feel free to go ahead and ask in the comments below. I'll do my best to get to them all. Also, let me know how you like the new format. Anyways, that's pretty much it guys. I want to thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it and I'm gonna see you guys later. Bye.